Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the show where myself, Dan Cheryl of winteriscoming.net, and Cheryl Wassenaar of cultures.com talk all things Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, fantasy, sci-fi, genre fiction. How are you, Cheryl?
I am here, Dan.
Good to hear it. And thanks for joining us, everybody. Hello, Terry, Sue, Joanne, Michael, Kathleen. You came in a good day, people, because there is a lot of Game of Thrones news to go over. Entertainment Weekly from James Hibbard done blown open the gates on the news cycle. He had a huge story all about what's coming in Season 8. We're here to talk about that. We learned about the prequels, here to talk about that. I'm angry about The Walking Dead, we're here to talk about that. We got more Song of Dan and Josh later, we're here to do that. It was a big week.
Yes.
It was a big week for Game of Thrones news. We got a lot of new information here.
All right, I'm ready.
Yes, like David Miner, can't wait for the new season from Nebraska. I can't either. I will say, hey Julie, says hi to Dan and Cheryl. Christina,
Julie.
Amy, hey everybody. So James Hibbard's EW article kind of like charged my enthusiasm. You know, it's been a while since the new episode of Game of Thrones came on, but just all that nice information, on-set perspective, has a great way of making me more interested. So let's get into some of the stuff that James Hibbard reported from the set of Game of Thrones Season 8, because if you guys don't know, James Hibbard is like the Entertainment Weekly Westeros war correspondent. He gets all the exclusive scoop on the show because they let him on the set and let him talk to them. And he always comes back with good stuff.
He's an extremely lucky duck.
Okay.
And we're jealous of him.
So let's start with, he basically described the opening episode, and he said some really cool stuff about it. So let me read a bit of what he wrote.
Lay it on me.
Okay, Season 8 opens at Winterfell with an episode that contains plenty of callbacks to the show's pilot. Instead of King Robert's procession arriving, it's Daenerys and her army. What follows is a thrilling, intense intermingling of characters, some of whom have never previously met, many of whom have messy histories, as they all prepare to face the inevitable invasion of the army of the dead. I really like the idea of kind of opening the final season premiere with a callback, but a callback that makes perfect sense to the first episode. And Richard just flashed the first photo they released, which I just bulldozed right over.
You did? A little bit. It's okay.
EW did release the first photo from the show, or it is an on-set thing. Endgame, Jon Daenerys in their Season 8 finery, looking great. Any thoughts on that, Cheryl?
Fans on Twitter did notice that Daenerys now has more red in her coat
Instead of some red in her coat.
Black, which, I mean, I definitely had some symbolism chat about that because, I mean, Jon is in Targaryen black, so it makes sense that, hello, Jon Snow, what's up, boo?
Their hair's so tight.
Like
it's a serious time.
I'm getting a tension headache, like in sympathy. But anyway, so yeah, she's got the red, he's got the black, and they also kind of, visually contrast each other in a bunch of other ways too, with the dark hair, light hair, that sort of thing.
I will say, I thought that the runs on her coat are in red, not black.
That's what I said, that they're in red.
Oh, that's they were black. I'm insane.
They used to be black. They
were just white.
She had black stripes in her coat.
She's made them red.
Yeah, so they've become more reddish.
I mean, that coat is like the fashion moment from the last season, right?
Yes.
Like Daenerys in that white coat going north.
Yeah.
And she's upgraded it, has some red in there.
Yes.
I mean, it's a cool photo, and again, it just gets me hyped for the end is here. The final hype train has left the station. I can see the promotion going up from now on. And of course, she does look great.
Yes.
And Jon looks fine too, but I don't know. I think her coat's more interesting than his.
It's true. I also like how Jon respectfully has his hand like above, like it's on her waist. It's like, good job, Jon. You're a gentleman.
Julie wonders who Dany's designer was, and I believe her name is Michelle Clapton. Yes. The costume designer in Game of Thrones. She's really freaking talented, done a lot of great stuff. Cersei's kind of battle gown she wears to get crowned, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And she's been with the show for a long time, and I'm sure she designed that. I love Michelle Clapton.
Yeah, the first name that came to mind was Michelle McLaren. I was like, nope, that was a director.
Yes, it was.
No.
But yeah, it looks great. Okay, back to the, thanks Richard for being quick in the draw with that.
Yes.
The first episode of the show. Okay. So basically, it's going to mirror Robert Baratheon coming to Winterfell in the very first episode of the show, the series premiere, Winter is Coming, .net. He comes, he greets all the Starks, they're all in a line for him. It's a hugely important moment, and I love the idea of the show circling back to it. I can see it, right, with Daenerys and her retinue Jorah and Tyrion and Grey Worm, Missandei, and everybody else coming and kind of taking the place of the Hound and Joffrey and Cersei and Jaime, and they're greeting, what's left of the Starks, basically Sansa, Bran, and Arya, together with everyone else they've collected at Winterfell over the years, like Lyanna Mormont and Lord Glover and Lord Jan Royce. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love that parallelism. How does that strike you?
I'm intrigued by it. I will now say that the over-under of the season 8 premiere being named Winter is Here, it just got...
We don't know that, though,
we don't
right?
know
Just to be
that,
sure.
But it is now way more likely, guys.
Probably, yeah.
If they're gonna be like, oh, it's Winter is Here, everyone's gonna go, oh my god, and we're gonna be like, we knew it.
Or how about just Winter?
They don't really do a lot of one-word titles, though.
But they could.
They could.
Home. That was an episode where Jon Snow came back to life.
Home, Baelor.
Oh, Baelor.
Hardhome, Blackwater.
There you go.
That's
so they do several.
I can think of 4 out of how many episodes?
Dragonstone.
Dragonstone. Okay, but all of those
Stormborn.
You can stop any time now, Dan.
Eastwatch. Busted.
Yeah. Okay. But the thing is, it seems like they save it for really momentous things, and just saying winter doesn't kind of evoke something big. Like, Winter is Here is saying something.
Sure.
And winter is just like ho hum, if you will.
I think it has an understated elegance to it, but we'll see. By the way, Julie corrects me, not the GOT designer, Danny's designer. So not who made her costume, who made her costume in universe.
Oh.
And in that case, I got no clue.
It was Danny. She dipped it in the blood of her post.
Exactly. She just, in her spare time, she just knits herself a cool new outfit.
Yeah.
That's
totally
more
what
Sansa's
happened.
bag.
Totally what happened.
But no, I'm
Everyone's
excited
gotta
about
have a
that. I think it shows foresight. I think it shows, I love it when, in a natural way, something that happened early in the season or really in any story kind of echoes later in it. I think that's a sign of good storytelling, like reflexive things. And I don't like it when it's obvious and when they're making a callback just to do it for fan service. But in this case, it makes perfect sense. Daenerys is coming back. She is the queen, like Robert was the king. She would arrive at Winterfell and do the whole thing. So that I think is a good move.
So no one's going to be like, that's Jaime Lannister, the queen's brother?
No. They'll be like, that's Jorah Mormont, the queen's hag.
No. That's Tyrion Lannister, the queen, Jaime Lannister's brother. It's perfect.
Okay.
We've done it. We've written the script for them.
All right. Anyway, so that's going to be cool.
Yes.
We also they talk about, an enormous action scene coming, of course. I have no doubt they will have something spectacular involved there. Mm-hmm. With Peter Dinklage basically saying that it's going to make Battle of the Bastards look like a theme park. All for that. They also gave a justification, Benioff and Weiss, for why they're ending the show now rather than taking it a little longer. I think we would all kind of want it to. Just tell me if you agree with this reasoning from, I think it's Benioff. We want to stop where we, the people working on it and the people watching it, both wish it went on a little longer. There's the old adage of always leave them wanting more, but also things start to fall apart when you stop wanting to be there. You don't want to F it up. For uncensored Game of Thrones talk, consider joining the Wit Club, where we swear like sailors and talk about things we can't talk about here.
I got to say all kinds of naughty words on this week's episode. But anyway, in terms of agreeing with Benioff here, yes, I agree that if you stop wanting to make something, then that's going to show in what you make. I don't know if the always leave them wanting more is maybe the greatest justification for ending the series, but it's not the worst justification for ending the series either. It could have been way worse here. But the idea of we want to end it at a place where we still want to make this show means that we're gonna get the heart and soul of this Game of Thrones crew kind of poured into these final episodes, because that's all they get. So
yeah, I enjoy that.
Yeah,
good. That's a good take.
Yeah, thank you.
And how about you guys? Do you think it's a good justification? Let us know in the comments. I will read your comments. Happy to. Julie Davies, of course, saying that they really do awesome designs at medieval times. I agree. Although really, is Daenerys' coat anything you would have seen it in actual medieval times? I'm not sure, but it sure does look great.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a fantasy.
So there's some really cool things coming. I'm officially in hype mode that I will try to sustain through the actual episodes. But it was also a big week for news about the prequels. We got information on the prequels that are coming. So we already knew that Naomi Watts is going to join the cast of the Game of Thrones Age of Heroes prequel in an unspecified role. We now know that another lead character has been cast, a dude named Josh Whitehouse, who, I don't know, looks a little bit like Theon after a shower. Now, I do not know this guy. He is on Poldark. Cheryl,
He was on Poldark.
He was on Poldark. You watch Poldark. What's your opinion of Josh Whitehouse? Is he leading man material?
Uh,
Talk about his acting here.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right.
So, okay, to plug myself a little bit here, I write about Poldark on Culturist. And I do, in fact, enjoy Poldark. But it's not that I didn't enjoy Josh Whitehouse so much as I just really kind of hated his character because his character wrote really, really bad poetry. But he's got a very kind of sensitive air about him.
Okay.
When he's acting as Hugh Armitage, and he gets to die dramatically and everything.
Laura says that she doesn't recognize him, and she watches Poldark. So
yeah,
he's not a huge impression, maybe.
Yeah, he's Hugh Armitage. He's Demelza's side piece for between seasons 3 and 4.
Sweet.
He is kind of hard to recognize in normal people get up. So that
Sure.
makes sense.
I mean, yeah, he looks like a
generic British dude.
British guy. Yeah.
So
Tasty.
he's got a bit of that sensitive, oh, woe is me. He does that really well. So, if they cast him as one half of some sort of star-crossed lover thing, I will not be surprised by it.
Interesting.
But yeah, he's definitely he definitely has that, he suffers well.
Okay.
In acting.
You do need to suffer in the Game of Thrones universe a lot of the time.
Yeah. He does suffering well.
I played from Laura. Okay, I do know his character. Oh, that guy. I do know.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy. I legitimately forgot his first name for a long time. I was just Lieutenant Armitage, the dude with the curly hair who writes crappy poetry in Melza.
I mean, I'm encouraged that they are going with not an unknown, but certainly not anybody who has some kind of big Hollywood cachet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's telling me that they wrote a part and that they looked for people and that they're like, oh, this guy is what we're looking for.
Right.
It's not stunt casting at all.
Yeah, Aidan Turner, he is not, to name the lead.
Okay, yeah,
actor
I knew
on
that.
Poldark.
I was
Yes.
aware of that.
Yeah.
Good for me.
Proud of you, Dan.
Yeah, that tells me that, unsurprisingly, HBO is going to try and cast somebody who's going to be good for the role, not somebody who is a big name. They're not casting Superman as The Witcher, as Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher show, that kind of thing.
You're still salty about that, aren't you?
I'm not really salty at all about it, but I do think it's a bit, come on. It seems like a ratings play.
That seems mildly salty.
And
but anyway.
I maintain that Naomi Watts is a great actress and not so much of a name that she overcomes anything.
Yeah.
She's not playing Wonder Woman or anything in the past couple of movies.
No.
She's a name, but she's not a name. You know what I mean?
I would unironically watch Gal Gadot in anything.
Oh, sure.
If she wanted to do Game of Thrones, I might actually die.
She's so talented.
She is. Okay, anyway, go on.
Okay, so that's fun. Good
Yes.
casting news for the prequel. We also have George R. R. Martin confirming a few things. I suspect maybe outside of the purview of what HBO wants him to do. This is pretty funny. He had a blog post where he was like, so I've been calling this show The Long Night. This is the Game of Thrones prequel. Basically saying, they've asked me to stop that. It has no title yet, so sorry about that, which is kind of hilarious. George R. Martin just getting out there, calling it The Long Night. Never going out and saying, this is what it's called, but doing everything up to that point.
Yeah.
To the point where HBO had to slap him on the wrist and say, George, you stop it. It doesn't have a name yet.
George, stop spoiling it for everybody.
He also keeps saying repeatedly, this is the third episode, that they are still they're still developing other prequel shows. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean we'll see anything of them, but I get the idea that HBO kind of wants the impression that they've shelved this stuff. and they're not working on it anymore because they never mention it. And here comes George R. R. Martin on his blog being like, they're still developing these other shows, and I just think that's kind of funny.
George R. R. Martin has the money already. He can be constrained by no man.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to have on him? He'll be fine. And he said he's still working on the Winds of Winter, but he always says that, so we'll get to that when we have it.
George R. R. Martin is working on the Winds of Winter. Water is wet.
Oh my God! So, what is Poldark on?
PBS.
Marvel and PBS. Really, PBS.
It is
and
on
yes,
PBS.
Julie pointed out that I love Naomi. I've been having a weird revelation about myself, Julie. It's an ongoing journey.
Yeah, and I'm here to support him every step of the way.
Anyway, any other thoughts on Game of Thrones Season 8 info or the prequel stuff? Because, again, it's pretty big news.
No, I'm good. I said the words "he suffers well," which wasn't something that I thought would come out of my mouth today, but here we are.
Do you have any idea who he could play, this Josh Whitehouse gentleman?
I mean, there are a lot of pasty white people on Game of Thrones.
That's
Dan.
very true. In Westeros.
In Westeros.
Like, the first men are just pasty white people. They're, you know,
like,
kind of English, with apologies to anybody watching who is English. It's not an insult.
No.
It's just the truth.
Yeah. No, I'm ready. Shall we go beyond the wall, Dan?
Let's go beyond the wall for a second. Talk about something that's not related to Game of Thrones. Because you and I, we have interests. You all have interests. And there are other things happening in the world of television, movies, and what's. And Julie points out that, yes, no one will stop Jerry from saying whatever he wants to. That's very true. And God bless him for it. Okay, really briefly, I would like to rant for about a minute and a half about a show called The Walking Dead on AMC.
I'm getting comfortable. Go on, Dan.
This show, been on for, I think, 9 seasons now.
Yes.
About zombies, people surviving in a world full of zombies. Very popular, or at least it was, for a long time. And AMC, the network it's on, kind of teased for weeks that it was going to air the final episodes with Rick Grimes, the lead character played by Andrew Lincoln, a British person.
Another pasty British white guy. Go
Although
on.
He wears it well. He's tan for that show or something.
About as tan as a pasty white guy can get. I speak from experience on that. Go on, Dan. I interrupted your rant.
Okay. Anyway, so they advertised that as his last episodes. This Sunday, an episode called What Comes After airs. Dude doesn't die. He gets wounded, airlifted somewhere else, and then AMC announces they're going to make a trio of movies starring the lead character of The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes. And it's all like a back door to an extended Walking Dead universe. They envision specials, new series, and quite possibly high-quality digital content, and then some kind of that defies description at the moment. And, Cheryl, I hate this idea. I think it's terrible. I think The Walking Dead has been on its last legs for, like, years now. Ratings are kind of plummeting at the moment. Mm-hmm. They're, like, down to season 1 levels. And this is the moment you want to trot out a new stable of shows, shorts, movies, digital content, and then kind of the defies description. What a stupid, horrible idea.
For those who listen on our podcast, which you can find on iTunes or Google Play or anywhere else you get your podcasts, I basically was like slouching in my chair and looking up the ceiling like, why did the universe decide to give us this?
I should say, Julie really enjoyed the last episode. So if you like Walking Dead, good for you. I love that you like Walking Dead.
We're not hating on you for liking The Walking Dead.
We are hating on The Walking Dead a little bit.
Yeah, but we're not hating on the fans.
Of course.
It's two separate things.
And Christy agrees with me, though.
Yeah, it is.
Christy's on my side.
It is kind of pants on head, isn't it? A little
good.
bit.
That's fun.
It's a little pants on head.
I just don't get it. Like, why would they want to expand this way if ratings are going down so much? And frankly, the show creatively, I think, has taken a bit of a stumble, skinned its knee, bashed its head against a rock, and then tripped over a gun and shot itself in the stomach.
That's very specific.
It is.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, The Walking Dead has kind of tried this before with Fear the Walking Dead, which is
still on, isn't it?
Which is still on somehow. Mm-hmm. And so I think what they were trying to do was kind of have their cake and eat it too, where they're like, oh, we're gonna kill Rick, guys. You guys aren't prepared. He's gonna be gone. And then we're like, oh, but Jake, hey, he's still gonna be here, and you will still get your Rick Grimes goodness, but just without him and having relationships with everybody else on the show that you also love. The idea of a Walking Dead universe is patently hilarious to me. Like, we're going to have a zombie apocalypse universe. Like, you can't... But most of humanity is dead. Like, I've been informed that in the comics, there's, like, a community of, like, 50,000 people that is still surviving or something like that. I don't read the comics, so I could be a little bit wrong on that.
So, Poughkeepsie.
A little bit. But, like, most of humanity is dead, guys. And, like, now they're jumping forward 6 years into the future on The Walking Dead. Yeah, they are. And, like... This all just kind of reeks of desperation a little bit, especially because AMC has put so many eggs in the Walking Dead basket that, like, they've broken the eggs and now they're just desperately trying to make an omelet out of them.
Sure. I mean, to me, it reeks of ambition. I mean, if you're desperate, it's starting to look like it's more time to end the show, not aggressively expand.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think I'm using the word desperate in the sense that, like, they're just trying to keep this IP alive for as long as they can. Because, like, there was a time when Walking Dead merch could sell.
Walking Dead was huge.
Yes. And,
like, in the middle of its run, it was pulling in crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Perhaps the merch is it. Maybe that's selling, like, better than we know.
Mm-hmm. But, like, yeah, there's something that reeks of we're trying to keep this going as long as possible, you know, to make this delicious omelet, if you will.
Like in the omelet metaphor.
Hey, I go with what I got. So in that way, like, it kind of, I don't want to say it makes sense, but I can kind of see what thought process may or may not have gone into it. I don't know.
Fair enough. I'm a little baffled, but we'll see
I'm
how
still
it
baffled.
goes.
Trust, I'm baffled.
Oh, and Julie says that'd be great to the show like Talking Dead based on GOT. Oh, thank you, Julie. I mean, that's kind of what we have during the season when it comes on. Thank you, I appreciate that. And Christy Russell says that the zombie fad will go away the way of the vampire fad at some point.
I'm still heartbroken about the vampire fad, Christy.
That it ended or that it was?
That it ended.
Okay.
I really like vampires. That's why I dress like one.
You are wearing a lot of black.
That's why I dress like one every day.
All right. Well, Cheryl, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
We'll be back here next week with you for more stuff. But right now, we're going to bring on Josh Hill for a new episode of A Song of Dan and Josh, the ongoing show where we talk through A Song of Ice and Fire. Before that, enjoy a little something in an ad sense. Terrible transitions.
Oh, Ned Stark, will you ever learn? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'm Dan Selke, the editor at winteriscoming.net, your one-stop shop for all things Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, and genre fiction in general. We here at Wick love bringing you news, reviews, and editorial content, and we're going to keep doing all that stuff. However, for the especially hardcore among you, we're going to start offering even more. Welcome to the Wick Club. The Wick Club is a Patreon-funded effort to provide fantasy and sci-fi fans with even more Wick content. You can join at several levels. For $1 a month, you can enter into monthly swag giveaways and get to read extra columns. At $4, you'll get to watch extra episodes of Take the Black Lie, our weekly chat show, with topics chosen by you. Please be gentle. And at the Valyrian Steel level, that's $10 a month, you get Wick Club t-shirts and access to a new segment we're calling Drinking and Knowing Things, a monthly live stream where I drink wine and talk with all of you in a free-flowing conversation about Game of Thrones, fantasy, sci-fi, and whatever else comes up after I've had a few. Just to be clear, we're not going to stop doing anything in Wick we already do, and we're hoping to add more stuff anyway. The Wick Club is a way to produce even more content, and hopefully to get to know some of you better. You can find links to more information below. We hope to see you in the Wick Clubhouse. Valar Morgulis, bottoms up, and thanks for watching.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that AdSense.
I did.
Thank you.
It was great.
We're back with Josh Hill for A Song of Dan and Josh, the series where Josh and I go through every chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire, George R.R. Martin's magnum opus, and just break it apart. What makes him work, what makes him tick, what makes him good, what makes him bad. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Finished that nice John chapter that we had.
We're, I think, the final John chapter of A Game of Thrones, the first book in the series. John 9. Okay, so let's go right into it.
Yeah.
So this chapter is about basically Jon Snow trying to leave the Night's Watch, and then Jon Snow deciding to stay with the Night's Watch.
Yep.
So let's just hit both sections one at a time. Why does Jon want to leave the Night's Watch?
Well, he just wants out, does he not? All the stuff that he's seen, and he just had an undead ice zombie tickle his throat with his fingers. So
Yeah, it was a good time.
that would make me want to not be a part of whatever organization put me in that position. So
But is that why he wants to go?
no, I think wasn't it something to do with Ned too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, Ned's dead. He wants to go help Robb take back, get revenge.
well, yeah. Well, he's going to help Robb. But it's a collection of all of these things that have kind of he's running away from school almost because he's a little kid. So yeah, that's why he wants to go. He doesn't necessarily become successful in that. He gets talked out of it by his.
He just got talked out of it by his
buddies.
buddies and then his fake dad.
That's true.
Looking real on. So the first part of it is him just fleeing. He's on a horse. He has to barrel over Sam, who's there saying, "Don't go, they'll catch you." And he's like, "I don't know why, Sam."
Poor Sam.
And he feels pretty, always poor Sam. And he feels guilty about that. But he's going anyway. And I mean,
Yeah.
what I got was that he doesn't want to leave. He feels like he has to because his dad, his fake dad, Ned Stark, is dead. His brother, his fake brother, Robb, is going to avenge his family. He's like, I have to help Robb. Robb's my brother. Ned's my father, kind of. I am a Stark, kind of. I have to go and devote myself to this noble cause. And I don't think he wants to leave. I think he feels compelled by honor and all that crap to leave.
Yeah.
It's very, very kind of knight errant of him. And he has this long sort of thought about his life, what it will be like now. Because remember, abandoning the Night's Watch is a big deal. The first part of the book is Ned executing a deserter of the Night's Watch. And his crime is deserting. That's it. You desert, you get killed because you said a vow, and they love their vows up in this show. So Jon thinks he was who he was: Jon Snow, bastard and oathbreaker, motherless, friendless, and damned for the rest of his life. Right, however long that might be, he would be condemned to be an outsider, the silent man standing in the shadows who dares not speak his true name. Wherever he might go throughout the Seven Kingdoms, he would need to live a lie, lest every man's hand be raised against him. Whew. Okay.
Dramatic.
He's very dramatic. I'd say almost melodramatic.
Yo, definitely melodramatic. Oh my god.
Basically, he thinks I'm Clint Eastwood now, and he's going to be this.
The man
I am
with
the
no
man with
name."
no name. And I mean, it's partly true because again, a Night's Watch deserter is someone who is considered persona non grata in Westeros. You don't do that. You made a vow, you stick to it. But just the floridness of it, I think there is a part of it that's almost appealing.
Yeah.
When you're a moody teenager like Jon is, and the idea of being I'm an outsider, no one understands me, I will be the man with no name. There's a coolness to it.
Yeah.
That he's
There's an
this is who I
edge.
am.
Yeah.
Because he describes that way too lovingly.
I think he'd been thinking about that for a little while. Obviously, because it's his own head, so he's literally thinking it. But
Yes. And like Laura says, right, the Stark code of honor. And I agree. I mean, he's compelled by real reasons.
Yeah.
He wants to go and help his brother. But I mean, I do wonder after reading that if there's a part of him that kind of thinks it'll be cool to be the cool outsider Man in Black Batman sort of dude. Anyway, his plan is to go join up with Robb and join the war effort.
yeah,
And but he doesn't make it. Why not?
because he gets talked out of it by his
Yeah.
buddies. And there's a specific line, and you wrote it down too, and it stuck out to me, which I've been saying is the general premise of all of the problems that we have on this show, which is, and I can't remember it exactly, I think you have it written down, but I'm paraphrasing that. It's it doesn't matter who's on the Iron Throne if a bunch of undead ice zombies are going to come kill everybody.
Yeah,
which is
that's-
exactly what I've been saying every single time something happens. Cersei blows up the Sept. It's oh, wow, she's so terrible. This is awful. It's doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, these crazy ice zombies are coming for everybody. And it does not matter who's sitting on the throne. It doesn't matter.
Well, this still pretty early on. The only people who really are keyed into the White Walker thing is the Night's Watch, and that's said by Lord Commander Mormont. Who after Jon's friends catch up with them, they do a whole thing where they recite the Night's Watch oath to him, and we were saying at our post, which is also kind of melodramatic.
brainwashing too.
Do you think it's brainwashing?
A little bit. They're all reciting the vow back to him. Like,
Well, they're trying to impress upon him. You
Yeah.
made this vow.
yeah.
Well, I was going to ask what you thought about that. Did you think it was too melodramatic? Do you apparently think it was brainwashing? Is a Night's Watch a cult?
I think it very much is a cult, but as they at least pointed out at the end of all the melodramatic speeches and monologues and soliloquies that we had, it's a necessary cult. Like, they
Sure,
are clued
yes.
in. They're like, look, it doesn't matter what happens in Westeros. It does not happen. Like, look, it like sucks that your fake dad's head got cut off, but he might end up being one of the lucky ones because he's not going
true.
to have to deal with the White Walkers that are coming. So
Can't have a headless zombie, as far as I know.
it's true. Well, we don't know yet.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty wild. But
Pretty cool.
the point is,
would watch.
they're clued in. So as crazy and as melodramatic and as sometimes maybe lame as it sounds that they're reciting the little Boy Scout thing right back at John, they have a point. It's like, look,
Sure.
we are the line of defense. Whether they know it or not, you need to know it and you need to be a part of it because you can be a strong
Usually,
chain
yeah.
in this
You totally
link for
can.
us. So ultimately that's what it was, and it kind of got through a lot of cheesy avenues, but ultimately that was the point. And I think that's what struck to John. He's like, look, I can be a hero and defend my family, or I can honor everybody
And the vow that I
and be
made,
that,
right?
yeah, and be, the vow that I made and protect everybody, not just my family.
Well, the funny thing is, though, like, it doesn't, like, the recitation of the vow doesn't super duper work, because he still thinks afterwards, like, okay, they caught me, I can't outrun them all, I'm going to go back, but they can't watch me all the time, I will find another time to leave.
Yeah.
It's Lord Mormont who actually brings him over, and is like, by the way, I knew you left. Like, I didn't really care because, like, you think you're the first person to, like, want to abandon ship? Like, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, and I knew your friends would come and get you back, and now you're here. And then he gives the line, which was the key line that they said, when dead men come hunting in the night, do you think it matters who sits the Iron Throne? And that's, I think the line after that is like, John had never thought about it that way before. Like, that's literally it.
true.
Which, again, is like a very, again, let's always remember that he's 15 in
I
this,
forget that. Yeah, I do forget that.
that he is very susceptible to wanting to be Batman, and then you know, having like someone say something pretty obvious and being like, oh, that's pretty cute. Julie, by the way, thinks that Sam's at the Citadel could be in trouble with the Night's Watch. I'm not sure, because he could still become a maester. Or I mean, he's still a member, and also, yeah, it's gone anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah.
I want to talk really briefly about the whole oath thing, because I mean, at this point, his friends, they don't know the extent of the White Walker problem. They don't want John to go because they're afraid he'll get caught and killed. And they have this whole oath thing. Like, oaths are so important in this story. I think partly because in medieval times, you know, as we've seen in this story, it's not like we have a code of universally reliable law to rely upon to keep order in society. I mean, today, you know, we all, I mean, there are criminals, but we all know the law. We know to, like, not cross on red. We know not to steal or not to cheat in our taxes, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But, I mean, back in medieval times, I mean, you know, it's no phones, no faxes, no computers. It's hard to get transmission of, it's easier to be an outlaw. And so things like oaths are taken seriously because that's the law. Like, that's an important thing that binds society together. You make an oath, you stick to it. If you break it, you die. It's a very easy calculus.
Yeah.
And I think they lean on it in this society because just the actual legal system, which is go before a king and ask if he can help you, isn't that sophisticated.
Yeah.
And not always terribly reliable, especially if the king is somebody like Joffrey.
Like Joffrey, yeah.
So you've got to rely on these oaths. And that's why they're taken so seriously, because they're a really important unit of a functional medieval society in the absence of things that we take for granted.
Yes.
Yes,
I
right?
agree.
I thought it was great. That is my legal summation. And yeah, Christy points out, Sam's best friend, what's left of the Night's Watch. I think he's good. Very good point. Dolores Ed is still there. But yeah, well, Sam doesn't really do much in this chapter. He tries to stop John, he fails, and he gets the guys and he goes. By the way, in the books, Sam, or on the show rather, I don't know if you remember, Sam actually rides out with them. In the books, he doesn't, because he's a fat, clunky man, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to like be riding hard after John. In the books, he just goes and tells them. He tattles.
He tattles.
And then they go and get him. Anyway, what's next? Okay, so yeah, he talks to Lord Commander Mormont.
Yep.
Who just basically lays out what we've already said. That when the dead men come walking into the night, do you think it matters? Jon Snow's like, oh, great. And then he tells him, we're going beyond the wall. We're going to find out what happened to Benjen Stark. We're going to go out there. We're going to discover what needs discovering, and you're going to come with me. How is that as an ending to Jon Snow's journey in this book? Because this is the last chapter we get from this book.
I feel like it's kind of fitting for his overall arc of searching. He's searching for himself, and he ends his story here literally on a search. What is the answer to the questions that we have? And his question is, unbeknownst to him, not unbeknownst to him, but who am I? And the answer is even more cataclysmic than he could even think. But yeah, and then he's literally ending on a search, and it's kind of family related too, because Uncle Benjen. So he's going out in search of himself, his family, these answers. So I kind of thought it was a fitting ending to both his story, and it's like we talked last week, that hook. We're finishing the last 15 minutes of the movie and setting up the sequel. This is a little bit of window dressing where he's going to go.
It's definitely good setup. Like, if you want to know what's beyond the wall, tune in for the next book. Like, we're going to go out there and find out. And we do. We do all that stuff. I mean, about family, I think that Lord Commander Mormont is also, he's not literal family, but they draw the, substitute father-son connection pretty strong in this book. Like, he gives Jon Longclaw, his Valyrian steel sword.
Right, yeah.
He even carves the pommel into a direwolf for him. That sword was meant for his actual son, Jorah. Who skedaddled when he sold slaves. So,
and I remembered that part from when, in this most recent season, when the big Ice Island episode with the where Longclaw comes back and Jorah's there, and
Jon offers it to him.
Yeah, so
He's
that's
like,
what I thought
nah.
of when this happened here.
Yeah, Jorah is his son. So really, I mean, by giving Jon the sword meant for his actual son, I mean, how much more symbolic do you need it to be? Like, it's a surrogate father-son kind of thing. I mean, Jon, like a lot of kind of epic heroes who are kind of wanderless, collects sort of father figures. I mean, like Ned, obviously a father figure.
Yep.
Lord Commander Mormont, obviously a father figure. Later, Mance Rayder will kind of spill in. Stannis is a bit of that, too. We'll get all to that later. So he picks them up like crazy. And this is definitely one. So we're done with Jon's story, the whole thing. So from start to finish, in this book, what do you think of it? Is it like is Jon's story the reason to read a Game of Thrones?
I came into the show thinking that Jon was the reason to watch. That Jon was going to be Jon's story. Yeah. I don't know, maybe because I was equating it to, again, this was before we knew how it was going to zig and it was going to zag.
Right.
But like, it was kind of like that Luke Skywalker story where here's the young chap who's going to go and become a man, and this is his journey through his ascension to the highest whatever. And it didn't end up being the case. And then I was so maybe I wasn't looking at that much in this book, but I felt like he was kind of a background character to the bigger things. I felt that characters like, even Arya had bigger moments in the book. Robb was the same way, where he's kind of a background character. He's in and he's out. Catelyn's chapters really stood out to me in ways that Jon's didn't.
Daenerys I think, were strong in this one.
Daenerys feels more like a main character.
She got married. She became like a queen of the barbarian people, and then her husband died, and then she's going to have dragons. It feels like she has a pretty big arc in this one.
Yeah, and even Sansa stuck out a little bit to me, too.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Ned.
Well, beyond the obvious of Ned, I mean, like, I think that almost goes without saying, because like he was propped up to be the main character of the story in the show. Even though 2010, the Sean Bean effect was very much alive. Like at that point, it was very much a joke. Like, how many times does Sean Bean have to be in a movie and it's guaranteed that he's gonna die? So that's actually, I was a little surprised in the show why everybody was like, oh my god, he's dead. They killed Ned Stark. I was like, of course, he's played by Sean Bean. What do you expect? He doesn't survive anything that he's in. So, yeah, so with Ned, I got main character vibes off of him too, and then Daenerys. So Jon felt very much like a background character. Not that you shouldn't be invested in the story, because I did get.
I mean, he's
the arcs
obviously.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Tyrion too. That had some good stuff.
Yeah, but Jon was very much into the background, back burner.
I felt that way too. I think this is probably, maybe it might be Jon's weakest leg. because like this, not a ton happens to him here.
No.
He gets to the wall. It sucks for a while. It gets a little better. He tries to leave, but then he doesn't.
Then he comes back.
It's like, yeah, I mean, compared to, again, like someone like Daenerys or Ned, who, Ned ends up dying, which is pretty big. And Daenerys, gives birth to dragons and loses her husband. It's pretty low key. But I mean, Jon's a slow burner. He'll become more prominent in the later books. And Karen, I wish I could read this entire comment, Karen, but Facebook isn't letting me. Mormon also says, all I know is the blood of the first men flows in the veins of the Starks. And then you say more, and Facebook cuts it off. But he does say that. And it's its whole idea of, the Starks being particularly important metaphysically to the story, to the battle against the White Walkers, and Mormont wanting a Stark descendant, which Jon is, just not from the Stark he thinks, on the journey north, because he's, just historically and sort of mystically important.
It's like some weird Matrix-y stuff, like second Matrix, old guy in the room of TVs being like, yes, this is all metaphysically.
That stuff's always in the background here.
Yeah.
Like, I had an example here, remember the moment it was kind of cute when Jon's trying to find him. He's hiding with his horse in a thicket, I don't know, and Ghost barks, and Jon's like, traitor. It's cute. There's a whole theory about the Stark's relationships with their direwolves and how they're kind of mental extensions of them. And I'm like, you know what, Jon? You wanted to be found deep down, and Ghost just kind of gave voice to that.
There you go.
That's this really dorky head tinfoil thing. Any other thoughts, Josh, on the final Jon chapter in Game of Thrones?
No.
Okay, really quick, really fast. I just want to impart some vocabulary wisdom to everybody out there.
Ooh, yes.
Okay.
The vocab. Let's do it.
Moonlight silver to the hills. Not really vocab, but silver as a verb. Do it more often. It's nice. And also, Jon mentions he doesn't want his horse to get injured or blown. I didn't know this. A blown horse is one that's ridden to its limit, because apparently horses will die if it's run forever and then die. I didn't know that.
I needed to double back on that one too. I was like, "Excuse me, Jon, what?" So
I read the blown horse.
I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Like a blown
dirty.
tire. So
perfect.
you're blowing out a tire. Yeah.
I wonder if that's not where it's from. Just tire literally blows out. Never mind.
Yeah. But
So that's interesting. And that's about it for Jon 9. I think next is next the last chapter? No, I think we have a Catelyn, and then we have Daenerys is the last chapter of this book.
Oh.
But yeah, we're pretty much done, Josh. We have 2 chapters to go.
Then it's the new book.
Then it's a Clash of Kings.
Oh, yes.
Although I think we'll do one episode where we just look back on the whole thing and do a little post-mortem.
Say goodbye to Game of Thrones.
Thanks for joining us. Oh, Laura thinks that still feel Jon is descended from the Night King. Oh, very interesting. And Julie Davies, thanks, guys, and thanks for a great show once again.
Yeah.
You didn't say hi to everybody, though.
I didn't, and I was thinking about that the whole show. I was waiting. Every single time you asked me a question, I was going to say, this is the time I'm going to say hi. And then I'd fly into a point. So, hi, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Okay. And Laura says that blown horse is a racehorse term and a Song of Ice and Fire term, apparently. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week with more Game of Thrones news, more Song of Ice and Fire tidbits, more Song of Dan and Josh, more Beyond the Wall fun. Thanks for watching, and see you next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central on our Facebook page. Adios.